creating it for the person who it's white noise, they fall asleep, they laugh at a couple jokes, it's a good time. And then I make it for the person who they're like, this is how I start my day. Like, this is what I listen to on my break or on my drive to work, and I'm listening to it, and I'm creating it for both audiences. So I will build out those 3-second gaps. There's no handbook on how to do this, and there's a huge difference. I've gotten rid of them. Sometimes those gaps are like half a second, a minute, and it's just bam, 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 bam. And then sometimes I'm trying to cram 3 stories into 30 minutes, right? You think 10 minutes a story is good, but it never works like that. Just do 2 15-minute stories, bro. So yeah, this episode changed going forward how I do the show and how I plan for the show. That day, when I went home, I was getting ready to record stuff or set stuff up for the next week. That day I said, nope, no more 3 stories in an episode. At all. And if I did 3 stories in an episode, like the Transmorphers, that episode was an hour long because I did 4 stories. And I was like, ended up being, after editing, around 15 minutes long. I was like, the episode's going to be as long as it's going to be. It's an interactive journey. I do usually one of those a season, if not one every other season, because they take a long time. Because I don't write anything down. I'm not writing down the jokes of, oh, if you become this, you'll be that. I don't write any of that down. I just write down the notes of what I want to talk about, and then I sit down in front of the mic. I'll talk more about my joke process the next Classics episode, because that deserves a whole thing in and of itself, and the danger you're in with that. But I hope you guys enjoy this. I love behind the scenes stuff. I wish more podcasts would do this, and I love this type of stuff, and I hope you guys are enjoying it too. And I hope you guys enjoy the new, slightly slower pace. I mean, the episodes they've gotten a little bit longer over time. They started 30 minutes, and then I jumped it up to 35, and now it's at 40, and I think that's a pretty good ceiling. There are some episodes that go 41, 42, I'm fine with that. But I think 40 minutes is a good time period, and the episodes sometimes they're shorter, because I'm not going to put, padding in it. I'd say they usually fall around 35 minutes, but anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this behind the scenes of Dead Rabbit Radio, and hopefully you'll be back for tomorrow's. Do I do the outro on these? I don't even remember. DeadRabbitRadio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at. I don't think I do the outro. I think it just ends. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio Classics, where we take a look at some classic episodes of Dead Rabbit Radio with some new info. New info on the end. This is an episode that I very clearly remember recording. It's an episode that I had a lot of fun recording. It was basically, I think, one of the first episodes where I lost my patience in the story. And so it's definitely always had a fond place in my heart. And I think this episode shows a lot how the show's grown over the years. So as you're listening to, if you're a new listener of Dead Rabbit Radio, or you've been listening all along, I think you'll notice some interesting things that I'm saying in this episode that I would not be saying today. This is really interesting. I picked this episode as a classic because I loved it, but as I was listening to it, I go, wow, I would have a different take, 800 episodes later, and so that's cool. It shows how I've grown, shows how the show's grown. So let's go ahead and get started here with episode 121, KGB vs. Aliens. Did a voodoo warlord put a curse on his most hated enemy? Then we take a look at the KGB and a close encounter of the turned kind. And then we take a look at a man who made it his life mission to not only count, but contact the aliens in our very own solar system. That, by his estimate, numbered around 22 trillion. Today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. I hope you're having a great day too. I lied. I am having a great day. But it's snowing outside. I hate the snow. I hate everything that has the word snow in it. I hate snow cones. Those are quite disgusting. It's just water with gross Kool-Aid spilled on it. I hate snowboarding. I think it's kind of lame. Skiing's better, but I hate that too. I never saw the movie Snowpiercer, but if I saw it, I'd hate it. I hate Supreme Leader Snoke. Anything that has the word snow in it is terrible. Snowballs are pretty dumb. I'd rather throw a rock. And it's snowing outside right now, and I sometimes despise humanity for not being allergic to snow. Snow is nature's dandruff. And people always talk about, oh, snow looks so pretty. Okay, it does when it's hundreds of miles away on a mountain. I guess people don't have eyesight that good. When it's tens of miles away on a mountain, yes, snow is beautiful. But when you have to walk through it, it's terrible. And humanity, I wish we had never settled in areas with snow. The idea that a sentient species could go, this place is cold and inhospitable for 2 months out of the year. Let's live here. I wish everyone just lived in the desert, including me, despite as dangerous it is. You got Mongolian death worms and desert yetis everywhere. Cacti chasing you down the street. The snowmobiles, yeah, I don't like those either. Comparatively, they're okay. But anyways, I like the sound they make. But other than that, and they kind of look cool with the treads, but whatever. I hate snow. I hate it all. Snow was a bad guy in Hunger Games. Nothing good comes out of snow. And snowmen, I know your secret. You're not really a snowman, you're just 3 balls of snow with some carrots on your face. Usually just one. I have to work tomorrow. I hope you didn't hear me say I hate you. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with this snowless episode. I'm never going to do a snowspiracy. We're going to move on to our next, our first story has no snow. It's a no snow zone. This is an interesting one. It's short, but it's still interesting. So a lot of you guys, let me back up here for a second. So back up, and I haven't even started yet. Back in the 1980s, there was this voodoo priestess in Congo, I think, a place in Africa. I'm still stuck on that Ebola episode. There was a voodoo priestess in Africa. She saw that there was a civil war going on in a place. I don't remember the name of it, but detail is not important. And she decided to exploit the divisions in this country that I don't remember. So she raised an army, but she didn't have any weapons. So she gave her army sticks, stones, and voodoo dolls. Spoiler alert, they got stomped. But her nephew, also a practicing voodoo, whatever the term is. I know this episode's off to a great start. Also, well, he's a warlord, basically. Also a practicing, he's a voodoo practitioner and a warlord. Let's say that. You know him. Everybody knows him. His name is Kony. So, Kony started the Lord's Resistance Army. It was a huge contingent of it was child soldiers that he kidnapped from villages, made the kids kill their parents so they'd have nowhere to go, so they had to stay in the army. He's a brutal man. He controlled them through fear and violence and voodoo. He's a practitioner of the voodoo religion. I don't know if it's called voodoo over there, but similar practices. I don't know. It's similar. Okay, listen, guys. I'm just reading articles on this stuff. Anyways, so if someone's like, no, it's not actually called voodoo, it's called this, I apologize. But anyways, so he uses dark magic, we'll say. He uses dark magic and fear and violence and all this stuff to control his army. Now, the reason why we know about Kony was back in 2012, there was that big social movement, Kony 2012. And Jason Russell had a group called Invisible Children. And his goal was to bring about the end of Kony and to free those child soldiers. Admirable goal. And so they started this huge social movement, and like people were changing their profile picture. It was called slacktivism because people were doing like very little things, but they felt really good about it because they were part of this Kony movement. The video, Invisible Children, I think it was called. The video that Invisible Children produced was one of the most watched videos of that year. It was this huge phenomenon, and it did bring a bunch of attention to Kony. And people who had never heard of the civil strife, never heard of the child soldiers, never heard of any of that, were now aware of it. The eyes of the world were on Kony. Now, how do you strike at a target? Kony didn't have drones. He couldn't really send over a 12-year-old assassin with an AK-47. So how do you strike at an opponent 2,000 miles away? Magic, of course. So, I mean, whether or not voodoo works, I think depends on your own personal beliefs. I'm personally not scared of voodoo. I don't think it would work. I know voodoo wouldn't work on me. I see it as something that is more something that you buy into the superstitions for it to work. But I could be wrong. I've never had anyone cast a voodoo spell on me. Maybe they did. Maybe that's why it's snowing. But what's interesting is you had Jason Russell, and Kony 2012 is blowing up, and everyone's looking at this guy. Everyone's looking for him. And Jason Russell starts to have weird thoughts, we should say. Now, he is under a lot of pressure because he went from being a nobody to being world famous like that. Like, it is very, very hard for a average person to become famous. It's a lot of pressure. It's a super weird attack on the human psyche. I think it's interesting because athletes start off, they're usually famous at their high school, and then they go to college, and now they're famous nationally to a certain degree, but definitely in their state. And then if they play pro ball, now they're nationally famous, but they have that slow build-up of the fame. Whereas singers and actors and activists and stuff like that, politicians, can become famous overnight. And it can really, really mess with you. All of a sudden you feel self-important and stuff like that. But anyways, so Jason Russell is this normal guy who now is world famous. And he's feeling the pressure of it. He's starting to have these weird thoughts. He needs to take a break. Him and his family go on vacation. They go to see the movie The Lorax, the movie about Danny DeVito trying to get people to recycle. And that's a bad description of it. But anyways, which would have made it a better movie. He's at the Lorax and he's watching it, and he said he felt that the movie The Lorax was talking to him. And then he got this nugget in his head. Not literally, but he got this thought in his head. A kernel, again, not literally, in his head. That if he didn't get to New York within 12 hours, Coney would win. He's becoming obsessed with this thought. He needs to get to New York in 12 hours. And then the next thing that happened was the famous footage of Jason Russell nude in public, walking down the sidewalk, freaking out. People said that he was masturbating in public. That actually wasn't true. South Park made a big joke about that. That was kind of the meme. He wasn't doing that, but he was like doing jumping jacks and calisthenics and walking back and forth and muttering to himself and things like that. He went mad. He had a nervous breakdown. And the conspiracy theory is that wasn't just because of the fame. That wasn't just because of the pressure. That was because of a successful voodoo spell that Coney actually cast on Jason Russell. It's an interesting theory, and there's not much to back it up. Really, the best evidence I found was from TMZ, where they're interviewing someone who knew Coney. I think it was a child soldier or someone who had worked in that region. He's like, oh yeah, no, that was totally a voodoo spell. Absolutely. That's exactly what it looks like. A voodoo spell got cast on him. That's what it looks like when you're cursed. So, I mean, in the realm that we live in the realm that Dead Rabbit Radio exists in, all the crazy stuff we talk about that's not the craziest thing I've ever heard of. It is interesting because after that, Jason Russell became a meme. Coney pretty much disappeared from the spotlight. Invisible Children's still around. It's still trying to free those soldiers, but definitely crippled the movement. Definitely cast a long shadow on the Coney 2012, because now you really can't discuss Coney 2012 without discussing Jason Russell's breakdown. He's doing better now. He said that it took him himself again. There's actually a great video I'm putting in my YouTube links called The Story. I think it's called The Story of Coney 2012. The internet historian did it, and it's a great video. It's a great overview, and it has the interviews from Jason Russell where he talks about that breakdown. Was he cursed by Coney? Was the spell successful? Did Coney use ancient magic to take out an enemy who was using modern technology to stop him? Who knows? But it's definitely an interesting theory, and I wanted to share it with you guys. Next story we're going to look at is an interesting one. Again, it's fairly short, but I think it shows one of the problems that I have with modern UFOlogy. So apparently, there was some KGB documents that the CIA got a hold of. Now, right there, I'm like immediately suspect about this story because it already sounds a little too James Bond-ish for me. But anyways, the CIA gets a copy of these KGB documents. All the articles I found said one of two things. One, President Mikhail Gorbachev, president of the Soviet Union at the time, believed that UFOs existed and more study needed to be done on them. And the UFO sites are like, see, look at this president of the USSR believes in UFOs, and yes, everyone believes in unidentified flying objects, and yes, we should do more investigating on them to find out if it is a plane or a duck or a balloon. I don't think Gorbachev is saying, when he says UFOs are real, he's not saying aliens are real, and that's a problem I see with a lot of conspiracy sites. He's just saying, yeah, we don't know what they are, and we should figure it out. And there's a huge leap there between that and they're coming